West Tigers podcast, episode number 429, joined by regulars Gary and Nick, but we've got a guest, a semi-regular, I guess. Jordan, you know why we've invited you on this week, don't you?
No, mate, not at all. It couldn't have anything to do with the fact that we're looking at 3 wins in a row.
Well, I thought you'd already be including the bye in that. We've already had three, haven't we?
Well, I actually argued that the last year when I made that prediction, and Gary has been very much a staunch disappointment of disagreeing with that status of mine that we won 3 in a row with the bye last year.
But this time, mate, I mean, we'll obviously preview the Cowboys game, and we're going to talk a little bit, reminisce about 2005, because it is the 20-year anniversary at Leichhardt Oval this Sunday. It'll be a special afternoon for those boys and all the fans there. But Jordan, this time, I'm confident. You must be confident this three in a row is going to happen for the first time since, I think, round 6, 2018 against Manly at Brookvale under Ivan Cleary.
I'd like to be confident, but I think Gary sort of, even though he is a Tigers fan, I think he's doing a bit of a voodoo dance in the background to keep me as the podcast pariah, so we don't get that 3 in a row, and he can keep laying it on me.
Mate, no matter what happens, your prediction was 3 in a row last year. So 12 months later doesn't count. So even if we do get it this weekend, you got nothing to crow about. I just hope you haven't jinxed us for all of eternity.
I hope not. I don't want to go down in the history of the man who's responsible for us never winning 3 in a row, because then we'll never win a grand final.
It's kind of like when you say, "Oh, all my lotto numbers came up," but they actually came up a year ago. Like you don't really win much for it, do
All the
you?
birthdays. That's what I used to do when I played Lotto 15 years ago, Nick, all the birthdays, and they never rolled in. But how important is it, Gary? I think it's another stepping stone. We've been sort of talking ad nauseum the last month about trying to back up good performances, but this is good performance on good performance on good performance if they get the job done Sunday.
And I really think that's what our team is lacking. I think that's the next step forward in our progression as a team, is to start putting together consistent performances and 2 wins and two good performances like they have been is the start of an upward trend. Let's see if we can continue it this weekend. I think it's crucially important for the development of this club that we can show that we can string quality games together.
And still big ladder implications, Jordan. I know that the finals dream is unrealistic, but I know we'll get laughed at if we come ninth, but Tigers fans will be delighted if we can finish the year in ninth or tenth, surely.
I'd take ninth or tenth for sure. Compared to what we were looking at 6 weeks ago, 6, 7 weeks ago, I would take that sort of kind of just breaching the eight by far, considering what we've looked at in the last 3 seasons.
Yeah, if we finish ninth, I'm heading out and I'm getting shirts printed for our ninth place. It'll be
Tattoos.
as good. Yeah, tattoos, mate. Get it all done.
Nick, do you think we can finish ninth? I mean, we're going to be favourites in two of our last three. Favourites this week will be favourites on the Gold Coast. I guess it's that Canberra game in the middle, which will be the really one where we'll be heavy underdogs.
There's no reason why we can't. Um, I'm very hopeful that we can go undefeated through. Yeah, you're right. The Canberra game is going to be the one that no one's going to expect us to win, and we're definitely going to go down to the nation's capital as massive underdogs. But that could work out in our favour as well. And I said a couple of weeks ago, maybe that's the loss that Canberra needs before they make their run into the finals. But we'll wait and see. I like your idea though, Gary. Let's get some shirts made up like 2005 when we had the Premier's shirts, and even before that when we just had the grand final shirt. I reckon 2025 ninth is a really awesome logo on the
I think
front
it
of
would
the
sell
shirt.
Hey,
pretty well.
100% we're doing that because I just want one for myself.
Should
I'll have
give away
one.
ideas, Nick. If you've got an idea, keep it secret. Someone will steal it. It's been
This
going
is
on a
true.
bit lately, but anyway. Um, Boys, what's impressed me again, Jordan, is a lot of our 9 wins were pretty hairy, scary affairs. Early in the season, there was that Sharks game, which was Golden Point, Titans last 10 seconds. Even the Dragons was really sort of unconvincing. But the last two games, like we led Canterbury 28-8 with a minute to go. I think we led Manly 26-6 with 2 minutes to go. So they're fairly convincing wins against decent to average sides.
Yeah, for sure. The thing that I thought, considering the actual amount of points we scored against Manly, was how flat our attack was. Like we still look very disjointed in the red zone area of the field, and I'm really happy with the points we are scoring. But I think there is so much more room for improvement, especially on the attack side of things. We just need to straighten up a little bit more and start targeting one-on-one players, and then the rest of it will come because we probably should have we left at least another 3 tries out there against Manly.
Good to see though, Gary, isn't it? Like holding, I know it was wet, but holding the Bulldogs to 14, holding Manly to 12. I think one of us mentioned on previous pod, it's hard to get your average down, to 17 or 18 like in the past, given the rule changes all favour the attacking side. But, 12 or 14, you're going to win a lot of games conceding that amount.
Yeah, and especially on the weekend, what impressed me most is it was six until the last 2 minutes. So I think someone said somewhere that who I was talking to at some point during this week, like basically we went between the first minute and the 78th minute without conceding a try. And for us, that's not something we have a history of doing. So the defensive effort the last 2 games has been super impressive.
Nick, I can be quite negative at times, but it's sort of like I think you can be in the same boat during a game where you're expecting something to go wrong. Like I'm certainly like
Timu
that.
Eddie.
The last, sorry, Gary.
Nick's Timu Eddie.
Timu. I've heard this word a lot, Timu. I still don't know what it means, but it sort of means mini Eddie or something, I assume.
Cheap
But
Yeah,
Eddie.
like a cheap version. Yeah,
but
bargain price, steady.
but
Cheap
Nick, my
Chinese knockoff of Eddie.
my point was going to be, Gary, that
Don't be racial, Gary.
there's the last 2 weeks. I'm not expecting things to go wrong as often.
Um,
I'm still
I,
expecting things to go
I,
wrong, but not as often as they
well,
usually do.
I do agree, and I actually said this on the pod we did on Sunday with Joel and Declan. I said that yeah, Joel asked me if I was confident, off the back of the last couple of performances going into this week's game, and I said, well, I think he actually said, "Am I confident we've turned the corner?" And to be honest, I'm hopeful we've turned the corner, but until we start
Been a
doing
long
it,
corner, hasn't it?
it's been a massive corner. It's like bigger than the bend at Randwick. But until we can actually get around that bend, and I think it's going to take a lot of weeks to get me to that point where I'm confident that we have turned the corner and we're a better team for it. I'm going to just hold on that one a bit. So, I did say on the pod, I just want us to be able to finish off this season really strongly, and we've certainly shown really good signs the last couple of weeks. But we've got 3 big weeks to go. And they're all massive games. I don't care who the opposition is. Even the games we're expected to win. Looking at the table and form, we should smash the Titans. But realistically, it's never a realistic thing to say about West Tigers. But yeah, we just need to finish off as strongly as possible.
I think we've turned the corner. There's been so many times over the last 5 years that we've thought as a club that we've turned the corner. It's almost like we've just been stuck on that roundabout and gone nowhere. We're just constantly turning. So um, I agree with what Nick just said. I think it's crucially important how we finish this year. This year is already a massive positive on what we've had. But if we want to build into next season, then the next 3 weeks are really important. If we can win 2 out of the next 3 weeks, that's a fantastic end to what at times looked like it could have been another disappointing season. And it really gives us a platform to launch into next season. So I'm very keen to see how the next 3 weeks go.
It's especially relevant, for this club, Jordan, because like other teams on 8 or 9 wins, Cowboys, Dragons, Manly, I feel like they're just marking time a bit. Like there's not going to be a huge narrative around their season because they've been in these similar boats at times in the past. But coming off of 3 wooden spoons, I think it's a big difference to get double digit wins. If you can get 11 wins compared to 9 wins, that's a significant improvement.
Definitely, 100%. Like we were looking at the fact that we're going through these seasons from the past few seasons where we're wondering where the next win was going to be. We've had more this year, apart from the Melbourne game and I think the other Brisbane game. We haven't really been towed. It's more of a case that we've been competitive and a lot more, and we've actually been able to capitalize and finish off games like the Sharks and the Titans game. We have the ability to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Now, I know that's a bit of a cliche for Tigers fans because we always seem to see it, but there definitely is a different feel about this team at the moment. And just the comments this week from Luai and Appy in particular, just about that they're bonding as a group. They're really getting together as a group, and I just feel it's going to build over this coming off season, and 2026 could be a much different year.
The thing for me, Eddie, is the last couple of weeks we've really started to get the media talking about the new West Tigers team, and we've spoken on both the pods recently about the resilience in defence, how that's building a really good backbone, going a long way to our wins the last couple of weeks. The thing is, right, if we can put in a really good performance the last three games, and like Gary said, 2 out of 3 would be ideal, then that's a massive springboard going into next season. And it also gets the media and everyone talking about how the West Tigers have turned it around. If we go belly up in even one of those three games, then the stories are going to come out how the West Tigers have still got a soft underbelly and there's a lot of work to be done. So next 3 weeks are really defining, not just for how we go into the off season mentally, but for the whole next season and just the club as a whole. It'd just be a huge relief if we can finish this season really strongly, because it really will build on, or give us a platform to build on going into next year.
Gary, there was a little 13 or 14-minute podcast behind the Raw on the Tigers official podcast, and it was Benji, reminiscing about '05, being interviewed by Scando, who also played in '05. But he mentioned connection and trust, and that's something that I think this group has had off the field this year, but it's really translating to the field. And even some of the cynical judges in the media, I've heard Cooper Cronk and a couple of others saying that this side looks like now that they're really playing for the coach and they're a connected group, which is very important for me.
I think it's crucial. Like you're going out there, you have to be able to trust those players around you, and I think we've got a squad that is very engaged together across the board. So I think we had a few hiccups in that earlier in the season where there was a couple of players who weren't fully committed. But I think the squad we got now is fully working together, and I think that's why the results are starting to come. I think it's a reward for all the hard work and and the commitment to each other and the commitment to their coach, because that's the one thing you can't say about this team this year is that they haven't gone out and not fought. They haven't gone out there and not tried in games. This is a side that's always putting in, and I think the rewards the last couple of weeks have finally started to come for them, which is pleasing.
Where do you sit on Benji Marshall, Jordan? Because, if you read forums and the diehards are on the forums, he's quite, Tigers fans divided a lot over the last 18 months over his coaching. I mean, obviously, a wooden spoon in his first season and now 9 wins this year. Are you happy or encouraged the way he's going, or you still got reservations?
No, I'm encouraged. I actually said it on a pod earlier in the year. We asked that question. We were in a bit of a slump. We always needed to give him this year, but bar a wooden spoon, a second wooden spoon would have been hard to overlook, because the media would have piled on with everything and then player discontent and whatnot. But I always felt that we needed to give him this year to really build the squad that he has, what he wants, and get the group in the position he wanted them. And I think we've seen that there aren't many, bar one or two in particular, who have said they don't want to play for Benji. A lot of players have said that they wanted to be there. The reason they're there is because of him, how he's treated them. You listen to the May brothers talk about Benji, and even Appy and the likes of the senior playing group. They love him. They love him. They love him as a coach. He tries to make them have a very good, footy life balance. I think we will be a bit more surprised by the team that we're going to see next year. And I'm actually encouraged. Just also his press conferences have changed. I actually thought after
Changed in what way?
um, it was more. He's becoming more calculated with what he's saying in the media. Like, he's obviously always been very reserved with what he says, and he gives it back to the reporters a bit more. But like, especially after the Manly game, I actually thought that was his best press conference of the year. He was very stern. He was very direct. He didn't want to throw Makasini in too early, and I just felt that he's learning and growing with this squad. They're growing together. They're learning together, and I actually think he's going to be a much better coach in 2026 because of what he's learned this season.
obviously the Galvin drama, Nick dominated a lot of that middle of the season, and that could have easily eaten up a rookie coach and to a lesser extent Talon De Silva. But he looks like, I don't want to jinx us, but it looks like he's stabilising this club. There looks like a core group of senior guys that are right behind him. His recruitment's been good the past couple of years, and there's no reason they can't continue to build on that.
I agree. And to be fair as well, I think Galvin wanted out. I think that was completely irrelevant and separate to the Benji Marshall coaching or leading the club anyway. So I think he'd already made up his mind probably before Benji even
But
was,
that was still like a personal attack on Benji, really, wasn't it?
It was. And look, there's controversy over whether Benji handled that right. Like the stories are that, he made Galvin confront the team and tell everyone, the reason why he wanted out. And was that the right way to go about it or not? I'm not too sure, but you're right. What you just said, the team has come together well and truly since that's all happened a few months ago now, and we're better for it. So I'm really happy that that the results have gone the way that they have. I think you've just got to look at what Jordan spoke about. The fact that the players have come out and talked about how willing they are to play for Benji, and not even the players within our core group. Someone like Kai Pearce-Paul that's coming in the statement that was released after it was announced that he'd signed. One of the lines that he said was he's really excited to play under Benji Marshall. So a lot of the players from other clubs have even made comments like that about Benji. So he obviously has a huge amount of respect in the NRL, especially around the current players. And he's only, 5 years retired, so he's not that far out of that playing circle as well. So, well, I think he's still got a bit of work to do tactically. And I think you can probably see that in some of the options that we take in attack, like you were talking earlier, Jordan, that we look a bit scattered at times. I think that he's got everyone under the same sort of what's the word, mentality that everyone wants to play for him. They know what he wants, and we're getting there. So not polished product yet, but we're definitely on the right track.
Gary, I'm not one for, overreactions during a game or during a season. I like to keep things fairly level-headed and measured,
And positive.
positive. So I've got a thought at the moment that's a positive one. So you're going to be happy, I think. I think they should re-sign Benji Marshall. I know he's got 2 more years to go, but I'm looking at it. This is his squad, and I think the way recruitment's getting harder and harder in the NRL. Like a lot of guys are tied to their clubs long term, and he is he's been a lightning rod for players to come. And I just think now he's proved himself to an extent that he can get double-digit wins. I would like to see 10 or 11 wins first before maybe I jump ahead and re-sign him, but I just think it might help if you go, righto, we're locked in for the long term. Luai, get rid of your clauses. Benji, extend him for another year or two. Let's go.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd be rushing out to extend him with still 2 years to go on that contract. But middle of next year, like if we get off to a really positive start, I have no issue with them starting that negotiation next year. I don't think there's a huge rush to do it because I don't think Benji's going to take up an offer to coach anywhere else. I don't think that's really a risk. I don't know at this point whether there be any other clubs that are seriously, genuinely
Be none.
interested in him. So I think we can afford to wait a little bit. I do take your point about it may make recruitment over this off season a little bit easier if he's locked in for the next
'Cause we
three,
still need
4 years.
recruitment, don't we? Like I was going to
Mate,
say, like
it's
progress is not. I'm sure all of you, not all of you guys, but I'm sure you, Gary and Nick and Declan and that, you're all going to tip us to make the eight next year, and you're all probably going to be shitty if we don't make the eight. And I just don't think progress is off. Like, what if he comes the same next year, Gary, 11th or 12th? I think there's just so much, you know,
but you're
things that go into
re-signing
it.
him, and now you're talking about what happens if we don't
No,
improve
I'm
next year.
defending him. I'm defending him. I'm saying, what happens next year if, for instance, Gary, he comes 13th because Dream Buller's out for half the season, Happy Coruscant misses 10 games.
Yeah, look, that's a risk, but that's a risk for every coach. That's part of the job. I think it's really crucial as a club that we continue to move forward. Turning around, like finishing around that 10th, 11th spot this year, which is what's probably going to happen. I think we need another step next year. That's what's important for this club is is it's at the point where 15 years, 14 years, whatever it is now.
Benji's only been there 2 years. He hasn't been coached 14 years.
Yes, but he's also already got a wooden spoon. So this club needs to show that forward progress. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to turn around and sack him if we finish 10th or 11th next year. I don't think I would. But we do need to, as a club, be moving forward. And what's crucial in that right now is the next 2 months of recruitment, next 3 months of recruitment. Between now and the end of the season, end of the year, we need to get a couple more players locked in, especially in that forward pack, so we can put ourselves in the best position to be a genuine, not a chance of making the top eight, a genuine top eight side next year because we're only a couple of pieces away from that.
Jordan, where do you sit on Benji extension? Am I getting ahead of myself here?
I understand the logic behind it. It wouldn't, if it was just even a 12-month extension, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I do agree with Gary. There's probably not an appetite out there to be in a rush because I don't think there's any other teams that are really looking at him as a coach. But I understand the security side of things. But recruitment over the next 3 months in the off season is important. Obviously Jack Bird's been told he's free to go. There were talks of the last couple of days that Royce Hunt has apparently been offered to Super League teams. We do need another middle. We seriously need another. I'd be happy with another two middles, decent
Starters
NRL
or
experience.
or backup, mate.
One starter. One has to be a starter. I don't know what happened to Pole after his injury, but he improved against Manly. But the couple of weeks prior to that, he was very, very disappointing. I think he needs to go back to being a bench prop. But we need one starter. For me personally, I'd be happy to throw a year or even a 2 year deal at someone like Kamikamifa from Melbourne and bring him in for that experience, that leadership, and that opening, 25, 28 minutes of a game, and then bring on someone like Pole and have Kamikamifa finish it off.
Jordan, where are you starting Sione? Are you putting him on the bench?
I actually really, really like him in the second row at the moment.
He's doing a good job, isn't he?
He is, which makes it really hard with obviously Pierce Paul
Mm.
next year and Samuela as well. But I actually loved watching him play second row against Manly. I thought he did an amazing job.
Good to have options, though, isn't it, Jordan? Like something we've been lamenting for years is lack of depth in positions. So, I mean, if he could be even your third choice back row, that's better than having a couple of guys we've had starting in the back row this year.
Oh, 100%. And I know Gary would be all for the fact that it makes Seafarth further and further away from the starting 17. But it's also depth is a huge thing. Like I was happy when we signed Jock Madden. There is a lot of movement in the West Magpies team that's going to happen over the off season, but we really need to focus on some depth and that we've got those players that are pushing the top 17 to actually perform. Otherwise, there'll be someone there to take their place. And then we've got someone like Tapau Moores who will be, making his debut probably in the next 18 months. So there's a lot of potential there, but we need at least one decent prop over the off season.
The interesting thing you mentioned there, John, is I think the Magpie side's going to be really strong next year. I feel a lot of those signings that we've brought in, the second row depth we've brought in, I don't think Maverick Guy is going to be a guy who's playing a lot of NRL, but he's going to be very strong in your reserve grade team. The depth we now actually have in that second row position is looking quite good, so we're going to be strong in the second row. Bringing Jock Madden into the squad is going to have a fairly high level half playing in that Magpies side quite a bit. So I think those signings that we've made over the past month are really shaping up the Magpies to look good. And if we can get a couple more starters into that first grade side, it's going to push even a couple more guys down into that side. So that's going to be real interesting to watch next year.
Taylor May, Nick, he had another good game on the weekend. I just having a look at his stats just through 4 games: 2 tries, 3 try assists, 18 tackle busts, 3 line breaks, 130 run meters average per game, and of course 3 wins in the 4 games. Perhaps re-signing imminent,
I would
hopefully.
love him. I would love him to re-sign imminently. Yeah, I know. I think Rob mentioned on your pod, on the Clause Out pod, that he thought that it was already done.
You
I
better
hope
you better
they're
be right, otherwise I'll be coming after
yeah,
you. No,
yes, exactly. Otherwise, he will be the mock. But yeah, I'm sure that that's in the works. So he has to be wrapped up. I said on our pod on Sunday night, I love the way he runs. He just looks so strong and stable, and I don't have any worry when he makes a few breaks out wide. I've got no issues or no concerns that he's going to get out muscled or pushed over the sideline. He just looks very very strong with the ball, very dangerous. He's quick, um, and he's a classy player. And I said that as well the other night that you don't lose class, even though you had nearly 2 years out. He's just displaying that after what 3 or 4 games of NRL. So he's killing it, and he adds instant strike out wide. And you can tell that other teams are avoiding that edge of the field where he is defending it as well. So he's certainly adding a lot of spark to our team.
How lethal is that left-hand side attack looking now, Nick?
Very lethal. Yeah, I'm
is
loving it,
Taruva back
Gary.
playing on the left now, Gary? And he played
Yeah,
right
he
most of
is.
the start of the year, didn't he?
He started on the right,
That was only his
and
second try in 11 weeks on the weekend.
yeah, he and Skelton swapped sides. So
You like it that way?
uh, I do. I think Taruva's the better finisher, and when you've got an edge of Luai, Sam Fainu, and Taylor May, you want a guy who can finish well on that side because they're going to create plenty of opportunities. So I think that's the best spot to have Taruva at this point in time. And I think over the next couple of weeks, he's really going to benefit from that edge. It started to look really dangerous against Manly. I'm very excited to see what that left-hand edge looks like next year when Luai's further developed that relationship that's really starting to build now with Sam Fainu. That left-hand edge it could be one of the premium edges in the competition.
I think Jordan, one of Gary's points throughout the year is the way you improve your depth is not sign depth players, but sign starters. And we've got Taylor May, who's a genuine starter, and perhaps Adam Dewey now as a halfback. Improve the side dramatically, those two guys.
Look, I'll eat some humble pie in relation to Dewey. I know I haven't been his biggest fan, but he has been exceptional the
I
last
think you listen
month.
to me too much, mate.
I think you've heard me enough at Leichhardt. Sometimes there's been some choice words.
What's the biggest
Especially
change in his game, though, Jordan? His mentality, or
he learnt how to pass. Um,
And
I would
defend.
and defend. Yeah, actually,
Massive.
there was some massive tackles he actually made against Manly. I was very very impressed. But also his try, the first try that we scored, he's backing up the fact that he's not sitting on his laurels and hanging back and watching what's going on. He's actually pushing up with the players, being there for the support. I think he's been pretty brilliant for the last month. Taylor May, you guys covered it. He's a dangerous player. The biggest thing for me that I've loved is even though he seems to be a very quiet person off the field, um, his talk and his defensive prowess on
physical,
that
isn't he?
edge. Oh, he's
Physical.
physical. Like he's got to think it's 92 or 93 tackle efficiency, but he knows when to jam and he keeps his winger tidy. He actually keeps them with him. You see a lot of pointing, a lot of talk. He directs that edge well, and I think that's going to be a massive, massive help just shoring up those edges for us. But yeah, Dewey's been exceptional. I know a lot of fans were happy when he re-signed, and I'm happy for him to continue to prove me wrong.
Yeah, for me, the biggest thing with Dewey Jordan is one, his decision making. We've always thought, I know you and I especially, because we talk about it a lot, that he has a little bit of the sticky finger syndrome and he doesn't like to pass the ball.
Hero
Now, on the
complex.
weekend, he was run first. There's no
Mm.
doubt about it that he was run first. So was Luai on the weekend. Their engagements to the defensive line were huge compared to Manly on the weekend. Can't remember the exact stat, but it was really high. But he was choosing to run and pass at the right times. That's the difference. In the past, when he has ran the ball, he'll quite often have players outside him unmarked and not pass it. I thought his decision making about when to run and when to pass the last month has improved greatly. I don't know whether it's him maturing as a footballer or some coaching about how Benji wants him to play, but it's been excellent the last month. The other key part that he's bringing to our team is his long kicking game. Best long kicking game in the club by far. A kicker that can find the grass and actually get the ball onto the ground. If you have a look over the last couple of weeks since he's moved into that halfback role, we're not relying on the bomb and chase the pin sides down in the field. We're actually got kickers find the grass, and Luai is actually finding the grass a little bit more since that as well. So there may have been a tactic change along with bringing Adam Dewey in, who's got a bigger boot. So I think those two things have been really crucial in our turnaround in form, especially since the Bulldogs game. The last two games, he's been excellent in both those areas.
I think there's one person that nobody has thought of who needs a lot of thanks for turning AD's, not just his form around, but probably his career around, is Laurie Daly, because AD has become a brand new
Forgot
footballer
about
since
that.
coming
That's a
back from
good point,
Origin
Nick.
camp.
So you
I
think
think a few of us clowned Laurie Daly for doing that, but since that, he's been one of the best players in the competition.
I,
Best thing
I,
Laurie Daly's ever done.
I don't give you much credit, Nick, but that wasn't bad. That was pretty well done.
Timo
Uh,
Eddie.
Jordan, I don't know, like player of the year. I know those things are subjective, but like I don't know exactly what their award is called. Like if it was called most consistent player, it would be like probably Terrell May, someone like that. Or if it's most valuable player, a guy who's had the most impact on us winning. I don't know if I could go past Adam Dewey.
Yeah, that's fair. I personally think Terrell May's a shoe-in for Player of the Year.
Been some surprise winners in the past though on West Tigers
They-
Player of the Year.
Every year.
100%.
Yeah.
I didn't expect Samuela to get it last year.
Is it a player's player or is that separate, Gary? Do they
No,
have
there's a
two?
players as well. The Kelly Barnes Award
Yeah.
goes to it's a 3-2-1 voting system from the coaching staff. So yeah, Buller won it the year before.
Luke Brooks
Right.
won it when he shouldn't have.
Yeah, Luke Brooks won it. Joe Offengawi won it a couple of years ago. Um, yeah, I was really surprised. I thought Appy would have got it last year,
Yeah.
but or the year before I thought Appy would have got it, but
Who
Buller
got
got
it
it
last
running
year?
with it. Pardon?
Who got it last year?
Sam
Samuela.
Fainu got it last year.
Okay. Okay.
So
Even
it's a,
that's was a bit of a surprise. I mean, I don't
yeah,
want to
mate, it was a
mention
massive
Galvin, but he would have
surprise.
been up there.
Yeah, I was at the presentation, and I think most people were fairly surprised in that. On the night, they go through the complete count, so you see the complete count.
Mm.
Um, I think the fact that it's a 3-2-1 system over every round of the season. I
Terrell.
think Adam Dewey's had a great last month, and if he continues over the next couple of weeks, he's going to come home very, very strong in the count. But I think Terrell May's pretty much getting votes every week. Even these last couple of
Well,
weeks,
that's the thing about those systems is, like if they're still giving votes in 60-0 losses.
yeah.
Like Terrell's been in our top three so many times this year, but I reckon Adam would have 5 threes against his name, probably.
Yeah, 100%. Maybe not five yet, but over the next couple of weeks, he's got a chance to get a couple more.
Who's your player of the year, Nick, before we talk about 2005?
I'll
If the
probably have
season
to.
finished right now.
Oh look, Terrell's had a huge year, but just to be maybe a little bit different, I've loved Taruva. So everything Sonia's brought to the club this year has been fantastic. He's class. I spoke about class before. He's brought everything that he had over at Penrith and brought it to a club that hasn't won as many games, but he certainly lifted the club not just on the field during matches, but also you can see his infectious attitude in all of the pods that Terrell does and the club puts out with their interviews. You know, he's such a loud character
He's
and
a troll. That's why I like Taruva, Nick.
he's a
He's a
troll.
troll.
He's just a huge character. And even when Richo's been asked about, Taruva and what he brings, Richo talks about how annoying he is and he's always loud and playing the boombox like Jerome, etc. But you need those sort of characters to build character and culture around the club and around the playing group. So he's a huge asset. But so is Jerome in other ways. I don't think Jerome scored many tries, if any. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure
Not
if he's,
yet. He hasn't
He
scored
hasn't
one
scored
yet.
yet.
but he's set up a lot,
Yep.
and he is a awesome leader for our club. So yeah,
We're actually doing a podcast for a year award, and it's a 3-2-1 vote as well. That's why Nick tries to get on all the pods with only three or two people.
It's funny, Nick, coming from Gary, who's been on every pod for the last, he's been on 6 different stations this week. I don't know how many West Tigers podcasts there are, but Gary's been on all of them.
he's getting 1 point for each effort. Good on you, Gary.
Knowing my luck, I'll be stuck on two because I can't get to three.
We'll see this Sunday. Good change, I reckon. 2005, boys. Jordan, can you believe it's 20 years ago? It's a little bit depressing, isn't it?
I know I was 14. I
Jesus.
was I was 14 in 2005.
I find that depressing because I was 26.
Yeah, I was 18 or 19, probably 19 actually. But
Nick
like
was 35.
I saw there was a little thing on Fox Sports, The Fan, and the first 15 minutes they interviewed Benji Marshall and Todd Payton and speaking about that group. And I wrote down the 17. It's amazing how many of those guys are still working either at the club or in football. Like I'll go through it. Like Brett Hodgson's at the club at the moment. Pat Richards, I'm pretty sure, is at the club in the juniors. Paul Fadawira's worked in the mental health space at the club. Shane Elford's obviously a trainer at the Panthers, has been for years. Not sure what Fitzy's doing, but Fitzy was involved in country rugby league, I know. He might have been captain coach at one of the group sides up there. Benji's the head coach at the West Tigers. Scott Prince is coaching the Brisbane NRLW side. Scando works at the West Tigers, has for years. Robbie's been working at the West Tigers, not currently, but has been assistant coach in different roles. LaFranchi's one of the trainers at the Titans. I think Benny Galier's one of the few that's got is a businessman. I don't think he's got any involvement in rugby league, but
I used to do a lot with the referees.
Yeah,
okay,
he was a video ref there for a while.
there
Yeah,
you go. Mark O'Neill's the boss at Parramatta, the sort of general manager of football. Not sure what Dean Hallertau's up to at the moment, but he's been around the traps.
Radio.
works in radio.
Get him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I'd love to know what the old Dumb and Dumber are doing. Bryce Gibbs and Liam Fulton, they were two of my favourite players. I think they had a couple of side hustles, business ventures that didn't go too well in the early days, Nick, but I don't know what they're up to now.
I'm not too sure either, but I do know that Bryce is constantly trolling on X. He's
Yeah.
all over
I
everything.
think they were selling fluffy toys or something about 15 years ago. It was a good laugh they gave me those two, Jordan.
Yeah, I don't know what Liam Fulton's up to. I know Bryce Gibbs has a bit to do in construction. But yeah, I actually have no idea. I ran into Liam Fulton at a Leichhardt game last year. But yeah, I'm not sure what he's up to. But Bryce Gibbs has his own sort of kind of remedial building business.
And then Gary, Chris Hyington, obviously assistant coach of the club, and Todd Payton won a premiership with our under 20 side in 2012 and now head coach of the Cowboys. So, what I gather from that is it's really good to see this team 20 years on. You know, they speak about at the time we'll be brothers for life, but it seems a lot of them are still really good mates. They actually said, before I let you go, Benji said they're planning a trip away at the end of the year, the '05 side. So,
They should go to Townsville and just parade
well,
around
given
Townsville.
Peyton and Benji are the coaches, they could plan for September because we're not going to be in the finals, and neither's Toddy Payton. So that'd be a trip away you'd like to be a fly on the wall. It'd be pretty wild, I reckon.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea for them to get together. I know they had the reunion luncheon earlier in the year, and Steve went along to that. And by all accounts, that was a really good.
He's been at everything this year. He's been in the sheds, your lunches,
Was Steve
everything.
invited or did he just turn
No,
up?
no, he wasn't
He's not
invited.
invited to any of these things. He just shows up and knocks on the door, and they feel sorry for him and let him in.
Anything else about the '05 boys, Gary?
Yeah, look, I think it's great to see so many of them still involved in the game. I think it really shows. Tim Sheen's had a history of so many players that he coached, then became coaches, and you have a look, so many players from that '05 team are still involved in some way in the game. A couple of them are NRL coaches, another NLW coach. I think it's just a continuation of that Tim Sheen's legacy of how he educates players, and that allows them to have further involvement in the game after they've retired.
That's probably the slightly sad thing I'm anticipating Sunday, Jordan. I don't know, but I reckon Tim Sheens might be the only one not there. I know Robbie Farah's been overseas for a few months, so I'm not sure if he's back, but Sheens is probably the only one who's had his squabbles with the club a couple of times.
Yeah, it's a shame to see that apparently that himself and Benji aren't really on speaking terms. Whatever happened at the end of his last year at the club, it obviously has left a sour taste in his mouth, which I can understand. But look, at the end of the day, as he would be aware, rugby league's a business and everything else. But it would be a shame that he's not there. I have no doubt the club would have extended an invitation. But at last I knew, I think he was moving back to the UK to live back over there anyway. So he might not be making the trek.
What about the team itself, Nick? It was obviously a bit of a mishmash of a team. There was some veteran, not journeymen, but just veteran guys like Mark O'Neill and Ben Galea, who'd been sort of tradesmen, good footballers, but not, anywhere near rep level players, and then you had sort of the young punks on the rise like Robbie Farah and Benji Marshall.
It was a good mix. I can see similarities to our team this year, to be honest. But yeah, that '05 team, it was a mix. And I know that Adele on a few pods ago said that he thought '05 was a fluke. And a lot of people say that that season was a bit
I
flukish.
don't
And
buy
even
into that.
uh, not really. I mean, a lot of stuff has to come together to obviously get yourself into a point where you can even challenge for a premiership. But I mean, when you look at the way the season panned out, I think after about 12 rounds, we were coming about second last, and we were playing pretty ordinary football. We'd lost, I think it was 4 games in a row. The
151
cap,
to 1, Nick. That was the famous odds that were
yeah,
given.
yeah,
We were, I think, 13th with after about 13 rounds.
we were. Yeah, I'm looking now actually on after round 13. We'd lost two on the trot. Before that, a few rounds before that, we'd lost four in a row. At the end of those four losses in a row, Mark O'Neill got replaced as captain by Scott Prince.
Mm.
So, and Prince remained captain right through to the grand final. So, I mean, it was just a magical year. That run that we had eight in a row was pretty special. That's probably the one season that I was at the majority of those games. I think I went to every away game bar New Zealand that
Shark
year.
Park was a good one. I was there that day.
Shark
A
Park
lot of
was
Tigers fans there that day.
That was a great day.
unreal. Yes, I still remember that try. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think everyone was just in shock when
there
we
were a
watched the
few
replay
crackers
as
that day,
well.
but obviously the Benji one was a standout.
Yeah, it was just a special year. I'd like to think that we can replicate that at some point before I die, but obviously, as Gary pointed out, I'm a lot older. I'm actually not that much older.
That old,
Gary's
Nick.
just a
You're not
true
80.
story, but
Not a,
no, I'm not 80, mate. No, I'm not even 50. So, plenty
yeah,
of good years left, but
yeah.
just hoping the West Tigers can pull their finger out and give us something sooner rather than later.
I remember watching the Brisbane game against the Brisbane Broncos. It would have been around that round 12, round 13. I watched it at Panthers, funnily enough, and I remember walking out of the club there, and I said to my wife, "Well, there's another season where we don't play semi-finals football." And then we went on that run, and that run is probably the best couple of months of supporting a football team I've ever had. It was fantastic. But I'm going to back Adele up a little bit here. I too believe you can't look at a season where the four previous seasons we didn't make the semis. The four seasons that followed, we didn't make the
You know
semis.
what, though? In the 4 seasons that followed, they had an absolute stack of injuries with Benji. Scott Prince left the club. Like, that was,
Haven't you been saying all week that like you get these injuries and good clubs deal with them, Eddie?
but that side didn't fluke it, Gary. Like, they won every final dominantly.
Yeah, look, that they hit a
I
real
don't think you can
purple.
judge on years gone by saying, oh, because they come 10th in '06, it was a fluke in '05. I thought they were the best team in '05 for the last 16, 18 weeks.
I think it was more to do with just our playing. So, like, you could call it a fluke, but I think it was a lot to do with our forward pack and our playing style. We were the smallest forward pack in the NRL in
Hmm.
2005, but we were the most mobile, and it just backed everything that we had. I think the mixture of experience we had in the backs, like we didn't really have a massive amount of speed. Hodjo, Fitzhenry, Pat Richards, they weren't the fastest, but they were
Good
mobile,
hands
they
as
were
well.
strong. Yeah, and I just for me, I think obviously the brilliance of Scotty Prince and Benji Marshall had a lot to do it, and Robbie Farah. But I believe our forward pack was the reason we won '05. You had the likes of Peyton, and that came off the bench, who was good with his hands. You had the hard workers like Scando and LaFranchi, Gallier, and whatnot. And then you had the young forwards who came off and made a difference. Like you look at a bench of Halatau, Fulton, and Gibbs now in today's
Hmm.
era, they would be they would honestly be dominated in the current era with forwards. We were just mobile, we were fast, and we had a very much an attitude of you score 30, we'll score 36.
Probably was Jordan like the year just before the wrestle sort of dominated. Like, I remember
100%.
Todd Payton and that hitting the deck and getting up. That wasn't allowed in '06, '07, '08, and any time going forward after that.
That's right. We had a lot of forwards who could move, hit the ball, get up, go again, and we would just roll downfield. Yeah, it was a lot before the NRL era changed in relation to being slowing the play the ball down, ruck speed.
It was
We
defense
would,
dominated the last 15 years before they've tweaked it the last few years.
yeah, it was just very much more of a case of that we had that flamboyant attack and no one knew how to defend it.
Hmm.
Yeah, for me, what happened is we hit a 2 month period where we caught lightning in a bottle, and a whole heap of things came together. And part of it was having really quality players, very exciting players, very exciting young players. But we also hit rules that really suited how we played. It was a fast game. A lot of people referred to it as almost like touch football, that you hit the line, you hit the ground, you got up and played the ball. And that allowed us to score back-to-back tries, full length of the field tries. That Awira, it's really funny this week on on YouTube for me. Highlights from those games have been popping up everywhere, and I've been watching a lot of the shorts from those games, and our ability to score length of the field tries and back that up, and you get the kickoff, and on the next set you're scoring another try. That year was second to none, and the rules really suited us. We had a smaller forward pack, which allowed us to get in between players and get quick to play the balls. But we had backs who could shift the ball really quickly. And once they had those retreating defensive lines, which you get when you have a really fast play of the ball, no one could stop those attacking players that we had. No one could stop Scott Prince, Benji Marshall, and Brett Hodgson. Those three key playmakers were absolutely amazing in that 2 month period. But if you remember back to just before that, we were that worried about our side. We went out and paid some money and brought quite a number of players in for 2006. Guys like Keith Galloway were signed up to come in for 2006 because we were worried about the size of our forward pack. So we hit a real purple patch.
I had a couple of older guys though retiring. Buckets and well, Scando wasn't retiring, but O'Neill was retiring.
Yeah, O'Neill was retiring, but yeah, we hit that real perfect patch, and everything kind of came together for us to go on that spree. But that is the best football I've watched in my life. The most exciting football I've watched in my life. And if I had to go back now and you said we could make the semi-finals for the next 5 years, but you had to give up 2005, there's no way I give up 2005, because that's an experience that I don't think may ever see again. Just how exciting we were to watch, and what a joy it was to go to the football. And my father-in-law every week would say to me, "Oh, they've had a good run, but it ends this weekend." And then you'd go out to the semi-final, and they'd do it again. Like they went through the Cowboys, they went through Brisbane, who we weren't expected to beat, went through St. George, who we weren't expected to beat. The only game we really went into as the
Grand
clear
final.
favourites was when we played the Cowboys.
Mm.
I'd very happily extend my depression another 5 years, Gary, just to keep 2005.
You got to win. It's like that's the thing against Parramatta fans our age, Nick, is they've seen so many grand finals, but they haven't seen their side win. That's what it's about.
And they
Tough,
were
wasn't it?
expected to win that 2005 one. If you remember, like
Yeah.
everyone thought that was going to be a Parramatta St George grand final, and we upset St George on the Saturday night, and the Cowboys turned around and upset Parramatta on the Sunday afternoon.
Wasn't it a
And
weird score like 33-6 or something that
yeah,
the Cowboys
absolutely.
beat
29-0, I
them?
think it was.
Yeah, something like that.
It's
So
the one team we didn't beat the whole year, Parramatta. Beat everyone else.
I think we only, I know we played them twice early in the year and lost both. You're right, Nick. But
Yep.
we could reminisce all night, but we better not, boys. We play the Cowboys this Sunday at Leichhardt. It's one of the few clubs, Jordan, we got a winning overall record against. 24 West Tigers wins, 23 Cowboys wins, and I haven't looked it up, but in Sydney that we've been dominant against them. I know Thurston never won a game at Leichhardt, and they've got a pretty appalling record at Leichhardt Oval. They beat us early in the year. What have we got to shut down to beat the Cowboys, get some revenge on them?
You've got to shut down the halves. We need to put a lot of pressure on Tom Dearden, and we also need to make sure that Scott Drinkwater isn't given time. A lot of the games that Cowboys have been dominated about is if they've overworked Tom Dearden. So we should be running Samuel Afenu at him for the first 20 minutes. Literally target him, make him work, make him tired. Cowboys have been such a sporadic team this year. It's hard to know which one you're going to get. They
The
do have
best
a
is very
terrible.
good, though, isn't it?
Say again, sorry.
The best is very good. Like they're a fast side.
They are, and they've got some attack out wide, but they've also like I like the looks of Purdue and one of their wingers and stuff. They good attacking players, but they've got some errors in them. They do have errors in them, and we just need to have that line speed and pressure. If we put pressure on them early, get them to make some errors early, score a couple of points, we will probably get onto a bit of a roll on. But yeah, the threat we have to stop is Dearden and Drinkwater. We need to take away their time.
Unchanged side, Gary. A few eyebrows raised when Toa was named. I'm not sure if he's been training this week, but that's probably the big possible late change to the side.
Yeah, I don't. After seeing Toa on the weekend, I don't expect him to play.
Who
There,
should
there
come
are
in for him?
there's rumors around the. I'll let Nick pronounce his name because I always butcher his name. Rumors around
Nick's
that
friend.
Christian Mapapalangi.
that's the one. There's rumors around that he's going to make a debut this weekend, so that will be interesting to see. I've heard that from a couple of places today. Um, for me, the really important thing is we have to do all those things that Jordan spoke about. But what I want to see is I want to see us focus on our game, and I think Benji Marshall's been saying that a lot lately. We're a developing side, we're a developing squad. I think we need to turn around and back up what we've done the last couple of weeks. I've really liked in the last couple of weeks our ability to spread the ball coming out of our own end and use that as a way to gain ground coming out of our own end. So using the edges, using Sam and Sione on each of those edges to actually get us go forward coming out of our own end has worked really well the last couple of weeks. And it's taken a little bit of a pressure off the middle of the field, so I expect we'll see more of that. One thing we need to improve massively on is our red zone attack. It's still really poor. It's been really poor for a number of years now. We've got a lot more class in in our key attacking positions, but they need to start actually scoring points once we get down into that red zone. I think that's the thing that stopped us from really putting a number on Manly on the weekend. So focusing on our shape and our ball movement down that red zone is really crucial.
The forward pack, Nick, I thought dominated against Manly. It was good because they've sort of, it's been a bit, we've been a bit critical of them at times this year, but I think average set distance we were over 10 metres. And the Cowboys probably not known for their forward pack, although I was going to call him Calmalolo, but Calmalolo, whoever he is. I
Is that
mean,
like Ken Marmalade?
Calmalolo, let's call him that. It suits
Plays for the
well. Plays for the
Cowboys.
Cowboys. Malolo's back, Nick, and I actually think he gets a lot of rubbish. But I read a stat today that he's only played 9 games this year. They won 6. He played 23 games last year. They won 14. So even though he's nowhere near the player that he was, he can get them, on the front foot through the middle a little bit.
He's still a big boy and he's still very hard to bring down, and he's still got a hell of a lot of skill. So yeah, I'd be very worried about him. But looking at our forward pack, the boys really stood up the last 2 weeks. In the wet, they stood up and they looked really good. And in the dry last week against Manly, I thought they were really effective as well. So I'd expect at Leichhardt, not just our forward pack, I think the whole team's going to come out and lift. I'm really disappointed that I can't get there this weekend, unfortunately, due to a family thing that's popped up. Gary, I know you're shaking your head, mate, but I can't let my 13-year-old down. So I know you boys will do me proud and cheer on the Tigers as we bring home a resounding victory in the 2005 rematch.
That's my favourite of all the butchered names, Gary. Calmalolo. That's my favourite one. I mean, I've butchered a lot of names over the year, but that's the
No,
best
you
one of all
poor
time.
old Little.
Liddell, that wasn't too bad, but there's been a few. But Jordan, I was sort of, I don't want it to rain on the day because if you're on the hill, that's an absolute nightmare. But I actually think slippery sort of track will probably suit us because I think they're very quick in the outside backs.
Yeah, look, it wouldn't be a Leichhardt game without a bit of rain. Sat in there plenty of times in downpours
Yeah, can
there.
you bring in an extra umbrella, mate?
Yeah, by all means, gladly. It's look, weather forecast isn't meant to be too bad for Sunday. It's meant to clear up coming into Saturday, so it's going to be probably wet and slippery nonetheless. But I'm confident we'll get the job done at Leichhardt. I actually have a lot of confidence in this game. But for the forward pack side of things, if we're going to be effective, especially against Cowboys forward pack, we need to be targeting Nanai in defence and need to be targeting that sort of kind of that third quarter on the edges there, and we'll find some points. And the likes of our centres will score some decent points in those sections.
And with it being a very wet week and probably a wet weekend as well, I think we showed 2 weeks ago we played really good football in the rain and go into it with a similar game plan of kicking nice and early, getting the ball deep, and making the Cowboys come out of their own end. Your typical wet weather football, which we did really well 2 weeks ago, should put us in pretty good stead.
All right, it's time for the quiz, boys. This is a multiple choice, but I'll give you a bonus point if you can actually name some of the players. It's a number question, but involves players. How many West Tigers players have surnames containing three letters? Is it five, six, seven, or eight? I'll give you a bonus if you can name any of those players with three-letter surnames. Just having a look at the answers now. There's one current. There's two. There's three. Three in the current side.
Toa and Mays.
Well done, Gary. Toa and Mays. Um, what's your guess though, Gary? Is it five, six, seven, or eight in total?
I'm going to go 7.
Nick,
6.
Jordan.
Oh, go the 5.
Gary was right. It's 7. So he
Robert Louis.
two May brothers. Did someone
Robert
say
Louis.
Adam? I thought you said Adam Dewey.
No.
Well, that's not three letters, Gary. My hearing must be
Louis.
gone. Robert
Lui.
Louis. Yeah, Glenn Eyre, Robert Louis, Ben Teo,
Yep.
Sawaso Su was the other one. True or false? Excluding Jonathan Thurston, no other 2005 Cowboy runner-up players ever won an NRL premiership in their entire career. That's an interesting question.
True.
Jordan's going to go with true.
I'm going to go false.
Nick's
I'll go on the fence.
Well, I'll tell you the answer. It's false. There was one more.
Yeah.
He played for the West Tigers. And he won a premiership not at the West Tigers. He won a premiership, obviously. He's playing for the Cowboys that night. Won a premiership with the Roosters in 2013.
Oh, Luke O'Donnell.
Luke O'Donnell.
Yeah.
Question
player.
number 3. Name the 4 West Tigers players and 3 Cowboys players who played in the 2005 Grand Final with either a first or last name starting with the letter P.
Todd Payton.
That's 1. First or
First or
name.
last name, Paul Fadawera.
That's 2. 2
Pat
more
Richards.
Tigers. Scott Prince. Did you say Scott Prince, Jordan?
No, he
Yes.
said Pat Richards.
Pat
Pat
Richards.
Richards. Scott Prince.
You got him. So what about the Cowboys starting with P? There's 3.
Paul Rahihi.
Yes, that's a good one. Hooker.
Aaron Payne.
Yep. And a centre.
Ooh.
Not Josh Hannay, the other centre.
Well, Josh Hannay's name doesn't start with a P, so thanks for that.
Is it? No, that's Paul Bowman.
Paul Bowman.
Well done,
Yeah.
Jordan.
Very
They're
good.
good gets.
Question much better than Steve at these quizzes, Jordan. I have to get one every week.
It's not very
Steve
You
hard.
Got
haven't got
asleep
one
by now.
right in 3
We
years.
could have put a brick on the other camera and it would have been better than Steve.
Better looking too.
Nearest to the pin. What was Tim Sheen's winning percentage when he was coach of the Cowboys between 97 and 2001? I'll start with you, Gary.
25.
Nick?
27.
Jordan?
28.
26%. So Nick and Gary can share a point there. That's a pretty awful percentage, but well done, I guess, to the Tigers board who saw something in him and brought him across the club. Question 5 is a who am I? Might have to make a cup of tea for this one, boys, because there's about 27 clues.
So it's obviously someone who's not known
Yeah,
at
I've
all.
heard of him, but I wouldn't have guessed it. Yachty's story time and who am I? I was born in Wellington in New Zealand in 1989. Moved to Australia age 15. I was sacked by the Broncos and Roosters before making my NRL debut with the Bulldogs in 2008.
Rana Tamata.
Yes, he's a
Wow.
genius.
There you go.
How do you get that? The sacking clue gave it away?
Yeah, the sacking clue. Yeah, as soon as you said Bulldogs and Roosters and I was just thinking of former players who had played around that
I
period.
didn't even get halfway through my clues. That's the first time ever.
Yeah, I think that just means Jordan and Yachty are on the same wavelength. So, yeah.
He was a
Jordan
half,
the
right?
Storm
Is that a
2009.
compliment, Gary? I don't know if that's
It is a compliment. Yachty
Okay.
knows his stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if it was meant that way, Gary, but anyway. Thank you, Yachty, for that quiz again. boys. Let's hope we can get a win at Leichhardt and make it, Jordan, that famous 3 in a row you've been talking about for the last 18 months or so, or 12 months. Thanks, boys.
Can only hope. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, boys.
Guys.